What's up, beautiful people? This is Fearfully Fit Podcast, and my goal for you is to develop a healthy mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to be sharing with you an in-depth look into how I lost over 100 pounds and had a total life transformation. I want you to be fit in all aspects of your life because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. What's up, beautiful people, and welcome to the very first episode of Fearfully Fit. I am so super excited to start this conversation with you guys. And here with me today, I got Carl Dennis.
Hey.
If you don't know me personally, or if you don't follow my social media, then you wouldn't know that Carl is my boyfriend. And we've been going together for a year and some change. And it was very important that he was here with me on my first episode because he's been one of my biggest supporters, especially when I do something creative. He's an entrepreneur, so he definitely supports in a huge capacity any creative thing that I do. And he does all behind the scenes work with me too, helping me get my stuff together. If you listen to the little intro that I put out kind of explaining what Fearfully Fit podcast is going to be about, and it really just encompasses all things health, which is spiritual, mental, definitely, obviously, physical, financially, anything that would help you achieve a healthier, happier life. That's what Fearfully Fit is all about. And of course, it also comes from I lost 100 pounds, and I want to share with you guys my journey, what that was like, what it continues to be like, be able to drop some gems and give some good information. So when I start off my episodes, I decided that I'm going to do a kind of would you rather type of situation, just to kind of loosen up the conversation a little bit and get us comfortable talking.
I just want to say you were looking very beautiful today.
Aww,
I know this is audio only, but looking beautiful.
You guys can't see me, but I actually look a little raggedy, but thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
No, she lying. Y'all should be modest.
Okay, so would you rather lose the ability to read or lose the ability to speak? This is hard. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can start it up.
Okay. So this is super hard because I am obsessed with books. Like reading, especially when I was younger. Reading got me through so many moments in life. I'm literally like stand in line for the Harry Potter book type of obsessed with reading. And I would just be, oh man, my undergrad is in English. I'm obsessed with words. I would just be devastated if I could not read again. That would really affect me. But at the same time, where I'm going in life, if I couldn't speak, that would totally change my entire life. Ah, man, that's so hard. I can't imagine not being able to read, but then it's like where I'm going in life, I have to be able to speak.
I don't need to speak, so I'm good with only reading. When you read, you can learn. You get lost in a story or learn different things, learn information. As far as speaking, I don't think I need to speak, really. I think I could be productive without speaking.
Oh, I should have put in that you can't sign language.
That would be a workaround, right?
Right? Because then that would make it too easy. So you can't sign language.
I'm sticking to what I said. I think I'm fine just being able to speak. And I'm more of a listener anyway.
I think, I would just have to switch things around and maybe just be able to say my message through social media, like typing stuff. Because I just can't imagine not being able to read. That would just be like devastating. All right, so let's kick this off. I decided to have the first episode talking about vision, right? So 2020 vision, that's everybody's bandwagon little catchphrase, but I actually think it's perfect for this season that especially that I'm in. So God has given me, definitely has given me a vision about my life, about where He's taking my career, even our relationship, and also my bishop. Shout out to Christ Pentecostal Temple,
CPT.
Woo-woo, CPT. My bishop his word to us for the year is that this is the year of execution. So that goes hand in hand with vision and just working in your vision and really following through with things that God has given us to do, that he has put in us. And this is the year to just really go in and kick it off right. So if you know Transformation Church, one of my favorite preachers, his name is Michael Todd. He's a young preacher. He's definitely very charismatic. Have you heard him speak before?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, he's really good. And his first sermon of the year was the value of vision. And so he gave some really good points. I'm not going to say all of them, but I'm going to give you guys a couple, the ones that I felt were really important. And I think that we can use throughout the entire year to really kick us off, to have a good start. Okay, so one of his first points was to get the vision from the visionary. And when he says visionary, he was speaking about God. And also, just in case you didn't listen to my intro that I had, I am a very spiritual person. I'm a religious person. And God, Jehovah, he has been and will always be such a big part of my life. So in this podcast, I have to talk about him in a large capacity because he has so much to do with my life. So, of course, I have to share with you guys certain parts of my spiritual journey. Okay, so getting back to vision. Vision from the visionary. And he meant that we need to be seeking God for our plans, right? So what we feel our vision is, that needs to be something that is coming directly from God. Because if we go off of our own feelings, if we go off of our own thoughts, it's so fickle. Like one minute we want to do this, the next minute we feeling this, an experience happens to us, and then all of a sudden we're just, forever changed. If we just moved off of our feelings, we would never get anywhere. So he was speaking about the importance of getting the vision from God. God has a specific vision for each of us, and then he just needs a willing vessel to carry out that vision. And we save a lot of time when we go to God about what it is that he has planned for our life, like what's the bigger picture. We definitely save a lot of time. And I mean everything down to even the vision of our relationships. If we sought God first, we would save ourselves from heartbreak. Especially with jobs, we would save ourselves from doing pointless jobs when God had you going here instead, and instead you went there, and then you wasted all this time and you not getting where you need to go. Next thing you know, 10 years done pass you by and you haven't progressed. And so moving forward, we definitely need to be getting our vision from God and seeking him about it. So then he went on to talk about how vision is important, because I see a lot now, especially how they're saying, oh, we're going to be doing those 2020 vision and trying to be sarcastic about it. But God actually says that vision is how important vision is to have. And he was coming from Proverbs 29:18. It says, when there is no vision, the people perish. Like, to say perish, that's an intense word to associate that with not having vision. And so that just speaks to how important it is to have vision. And when you have goals, that's not something that you should ever feel corny. I think it's great when we do these vision boards. When you're writing your vision down, when you talk about you got these goals, that's important. It gives you a purpose. A lot of times people who deal with depression, it's because they feel like they have no purpose. They feel like they have nothing to live for. And vision gives you something to live for. It gives you something to wake up to and know that even though whatever your situation is looking like right now, you know that there's something better for you in your future. It makes you live life intentionally. Vision makes you live life intentionally. And I thought that was an awesome point. And then he was saying that you should treat vision as a verb, meaning that you need to be working in your vision. You should attach action to the vision. Because a lot of times, especially in the church, what we tend to do is we pray about something and we think like we shouldn't have to do anything with it. So same thing like being healthy, right? In order for me to lose that 100 pounds, I had to put in action. There was no way I could just pray about losing the 100 pounds. And because I definitely had a vision of having a healthier body, but there was a lot of work that I had to put in behind it. So you have to have action along with your vision. Don't just pray about it. And even when we write it down, which is very important, make sure that you are taking the necessary steps to achieve that vision. And there's that meme that with Diddy and then that other guy, and they just looking at each other. And I feel like that's how God be with us. It's like, we be like, God, make a move. He be like, you make a move. Let me see you do something. I need you to, there is certain, God has given us the tools that we need to make these things come to pass. So we should definitely not be just praying and waiting. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes all you have done all you can and all you can do is wait. But most times you'll notice that while you're praying, it's like, okay, but am I doing something to work towards this vision?
Yeah, don't be at a standstill with God.
Yeah, definitely. Especially things with careers, and it's like, God, I want my own business. But it's like, okay, are you skilled? Have you mastered your skill? Have you took the necessary classes? Who are you talking to as a mentor to help you build that skill or help you build that business? You know what I mean? Are you getting your qualifications together? All of that has to do with treating vision as a verb. A saying that I read, it said, vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. And I thought that was really powerful. I'm going to say it one more time. Vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. So that second part of it, action without vision is a nightmare, that goes back to me saying that you need to be getting your vision from the visionary. Because a lot of times, you know how it's like you're doing a whole lot of nothing? Like you're working mad hours, you're working all this overtime, but it's not taking you anywhere. That's having action without vision. So you need both. You need the vision and you need the action. Both of those goes hands in hand. And the last point that he made that I'm going to talk about, what Michael Todd was saying in his sermon, is vision requires obedience. When God has given us a vision and we're like, God, how do we get there? And he gives us the tools to get there. Sometimes he'll show us the way, but other times it'll just be like convictions that we have, right? So it'll be, whatever the case may be, is drinking. So you can go back and forth all day with somebody about whether or not it's a sin to drink. But for the vision that God has given you, maybe God has called you not to drink. Like that's your personal conviction. And so you don't know what's going to, by not being obedient to that, you don't know how that could mess up your vision. And one Bible verse that has always stuck out to me ever since I read it was Romans 14. And it speaks about the principles of conscience. And it says towards the end that the faith which you have that gives you freedom of choice, have as your own conviction before God. So that goes back to getting your vision from the visionary. You have to be seeking God through the entire process, because there are going to be, especially as a Christian, it's like we like to think that sin and the Bible, it's all black and white, but it's really, some things are gray. And some things that apply to other people is not going to apply to you. And so you have to, or some things that apply to you won't apply to other people. So you can't even look at somebody else's journey and be like, this is how they got there. This is how they doing it. Let me do it. Like, you have to seek God for yourself. And you have to figure out, God, is this, is it okay for me to do this? Is it okay for me to go here? Even, is it okay for me to make these type of relationships? And so definitely I'll say with Carl and I definitely, God had given me a vision about the relationship he had for me concerning my partner. And in the time that he gave me this vision, I was in a situationship, and he was like, I got something so much better for you, but I need you to let go of what you have so that it's just me and you. When I know that it's cool, that you are good with it just being me and you, that's when I'll show you who that person is for you. if that's making sense. And what a lot of times, the reason why God was really dealing with that with me is because a lot of times, especially females, what we do is we'll hold on to what we got until we get something that we think is better, just to kind of like lessen the blow about it, so we don't have to be lonely in the process. And God was like, nah, I want you to cut everything out completely. Don't have nobody there but me. And when you do that, that's when I'll give you the desires of your heart. And so one thing that has made my vision clear and I've been able to clearly hear from God, I'll definitely say, is no sex. So Carl and I, God showed me different things about our vision, and I was able to see, that this is the person for me and what God had planned for us, because I feel like sex is one of the loudest components of a relationship. I feel like when you have sex, it definitely, it tends to, at least for me, it like mutes God's voice. It's so hard for me to hear God when you're having like premarital sex. It just makes things so much more complicated and loud. So when because I definitely told Carl our very first date that I wanted to be celibate. How was you, like when I first told you that, what was your honest opinion? How did you honestly feel about it?
I think I was okay, honestly. I think I was okay with it. Just for me personally, I've experienced situations where someone I was dating wanted to abstain, be celibate. And I feel I took it as sort of confirmation. Like, okay, maybe this is going to be my future. This is going to be the person I'm going to be with. This is a direct sign from God. I'd be lying if I'd say, okay, yeah, I'm happy about that, sure. But I think I'm a person that supports. I'm also someone that, relating it to the Bible, a lot of times I think people just sort of blindly go with certain scriptures, certain parts of the Bible, and not actually understand, like, yes, it is a sign from God, or a direction from God, but it's also a way to better your life. And I say that in the sense of discipline. I looked at it as, okay, it's a challenge, but it's also, I think it's healthy, or it can be healthy, not to just base a relationship on sex, on the physical. And I think that helped me to sort of accept it.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that us being celibate, is it because at first, okay, I'm going to tell you my honest feelings about it. And also because based on other conversations that we've had, it seemed like, because yes, one, you are a very supportive person. That's just your personality. Two, it seemed like in the beginning, it was more like, I love you and this is what you want to do. So I'm going to do it because I support you and I respect you. Then as time went along, it seems like now it's less about me and more of like going to your point of what you mentioned, that this is like a sign from God. Like this is what God is calling us to do. Because I'm gonna let y'all know, like sometimes it's hard. It's okay. There are moments where it's kind of easy and I'm like, oh, my soul is not worth this, the little bit of sex. And then other times it's like, yo, if I don't have sex, I'm about to go crazy. Like, so it's like I go back and forth between those two feelings. But times when it seems like it's getting a little bit out of hand, like we're getting a little bit too close, like intimately, you the one now who be kind of calming it down. Like you be telling me like, yo, chill out, or it's time for you to go, you'll make a little joke like, yo, it's time for you to go home. So you be stopping me now. So do you think your reasoning now, is it more of just a personal thing with you and God, you think now, with our celibacy, and it's less about I'm just doing this because Summer wants to do this?
Well, honestly, I feel it was always that way. Maybe you felt that it maybe kicked in a little bit more as the relationship progressed, but it was always that way.
It was always the way that you was...
It was always the sense of God wants this.
Mm-hmm.
This can be a message from God. This is a direct message from God. And just sort of going with what's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ruin the relationship before it even starts. I did honestly have that feeling. But at the same time, as you mentioned, yes, we're humans and we have these primal instincts.
Right.
So it'd be a lie to just say, yeah, it's simple, it's easy. You still got to put in work. You still have to truly believe it and truly live it. You got to do what you can, whatever. It may be distractions. It may be picking up hobbies. It may just be staying active, staying at your craft, staying at your job, your work, profession, whatever it might be, just to not let that consume you. And communicating.
Right.
Let your partner know it is starting to bother me. I feel differently. Are there substitutes? Are there other things we can do to kind of maybe work this out somehow? You know, there's a lot that goes into it. So it is work. You gotta be obedient.
Right.
Go back to your earlier point, obedience.
I actually think we do a really good job with communicating that. I think I don't think I asked you too much where I'm keeping it on your mind, but I think I asked you enough to where it shows that I care and I'm concerned about, I'll say like, where are you with the no sex thing? That's kind of how I always ask. I'll be like, where are you with the no sex thing? Like, how are you feeling?
Well, you also let me know that it's not just a challenge, if any challenge for me. It's actually something that is a challenge for you. I think I can't honestly, especially in 2020, you can't speak for all men, but because there's different types of men, obviously. But sometimes I think generally men don't realize that women have these desires as well. So you do a good job at letting me into your mind as well. You know, what you're feeling, what you're going through. And I think you ask that sometimes too, kind of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a way for you to talk through it as well as you're going through the journey. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Like, so y'all, we are sexless in the city. We live in New York, if you don't know. So in a sex-driven society, we is not having sex. We are not having sex. And it's definitely possible. So many young people get discouraged with being celibate, but it's hard, but it is 100% possible. And what makes it easier is that you have a partner who is, even if spiritually they may not be on the same level as you, or their conviction may not be as strong as yours, it is so important to have someone who respects you enough to say, okay, I may not understand it fully, but because I have respect for you, because I trust you, if you are hearing from God and maybe in a capacity that I'm not, I'm just going to trust that what you're hearing, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
I do want to say also, though, that I'm honestly very fortunate. I'm someone that, I'm relatively young in the grand scheme of things, but I've kind of lived through life a little bit to the point where it's like I can understand this is a serious situation right now. This is someone I could be with for the rest of my life. Essentially ready to settle down. I'm not where I was 10 years ago. So I do kind of want to speak to the younger adults or just youth, period, that may be listening to this, that, you may need to talk to someone. You may need to talk to your pastor, bishop, parent, somebody, friends. I'd be lying if I'd say it's easy, because I don't think it's that easy to do. It takes a certain amount of discipline, a certain amount of faith and commitment, not to mention trust in God and trust in your partner, trust in yourself. I would just say that, not to be cliche, but don't give up. Like talk it out. Talk with whoever your partner is. Talk to whatever mentors you have in your life. Any sort of guidance, anyone to help you through it. And I can't stress it enough. You gotta be sort of distracted in a sense. I know that has kind of a negative connotation to it, but distraction just means getting your mind off of something. Be productive.
Right. That thing about idle hands is what is that? Idle hands is the devil's playground or something like that?
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely keep. And that goes back to the reason why I brought this up is because that goes back to also, it goes back to being in a space that you're getting the vision from the visionary. You have to be living a life that you can clearly hear from God. I know that for me, because sex is so loud in a relationship, or because a lot of times it don't even be a relationship, it be a situationship. It's so loud that you can't even move the way that God needs you to move. Because now, and especially when you're not even in a relationship and it's just a situationship and the person is not even committed to you. So on top of having sex before marriage, which God is calling us to not do, now you got to deal with the emotional issues that come along with being, messing around with somebody who you're not even in a relationship with, or is not as committed to you, or is not even the person that God has for you. And you can't hear that because you having sex and the God's voice is muffled in the midst of it. You got to deal with soul ties. So now your vision is messed up. Now it's your blessings are blocked because you're spending all this time now. Sometimes it takes years to be delivered from a soul tie. So now in all this time that you could have been working in your vision, and you could have been elevating your life and going further, you too busy at I'm not going to even say you. We too busy at the altar crying about our heartbreak. And it's like, God, deliver me from this situation. And now we so focused on the healing, so much time is passing us by, time that we could have just been focusing in the vision. And like I said, I know it's not easy. I think it definitely helps that in the very beginning, I told Carl from our very first date, like literally our first date, I said that I was celibate.
And I was going to speak on that as well, because again, I spoke pretty much from my personal perspective, or what I'm thinking. But I mean, again, it's a lot of, I guess you could say, right place, right time, because you could have still been in a point in your life where you're struggling with certain things. You didn't know God. You weren't disciplined. You didn't have vision. So it was important that you address that right from the jump. There was no mixed words. There was no confusion about it. You knew what you wanted. You knew what your plans for the future are. You know what you wanted out of me. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to communication yet again. It goes back to vision, being able to have the foresight to look beyond today, and be able to open your mouth, talk to your partner, or however you can communicate with them, text them, whatever you got to do to let them know, get on the same page. We just happen to click. We happen to walk in the same faith. And it worked out. It works out for us. Again, we get through it. We talk it out. We talk about it. Anything that's on our mind, and it just makes it that much more manageable in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. Communication is key, especially in this type of situation. Communication is key. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to leave you guys with just one more point concerning vision, and that's to be very careful who you share your vision with. Because even something like weight loss, because I know a lot of us have New Year's resolutions and we want to lose weight, we have a certain goal, and it's like if you tell the wrong person, they might end up giving you that little look like, yeah, okay, you said that before, and that can totally discourage you from your vision, discourage you from your goals. And so it's very important that you are strategic in who you tell your vision to, because everybody can't handle hearing your vision. Sometimes your vision is so big, it's so grand, it's so outside of who you are that other people can't understand that. They can't see that. And so they can end up unintentionally sabotaging your vision before you even get a chance to work in it. So be very careful who you're telling your vision to. I know that personally, we've been talking about Carlos and I, relationship and being celibate. I didn't tell that to everybody right away because I knew that in the beginning, because that's the easiest time to kill something, right? When it's a baby, it's very weak. And I knew that telling the wrong person, they could end up discouraging me. They could tell me that it wasn't possible, that it was too hard. And so you can't tell that to everybody. You can't tell the big picture to everybody. Sometimes you just got to work in silence and then just let it speak for itself when you come out victorious, right? And so just be very conscious who you tell your vision to. And so that concludes our first episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to speak with you guys again. Stay encouraged. We in this together, y'all. Bye.